right in the middle of the disengagement on the far left and engagement on the far right in the middle, I call present. And that's somebody who's just perhaps a paychecker. They're just going to do the minimal necessary just to get their job done and go home. And they may even be successful in just doing what's required. And years ago, in one of our old books, we were looking at this level of engagement, and we were saying, okay, if 10 is somebody who is a superstar employee, they're always going above and beyond. They don't need any prompting. They're just going to find new ways to create value. And if 5 is doing that minimal necessary, where are you people on that 1 through 10? And we would usually get a score on average, maybe around 6 or 7, maybe even 8s. And then we would ask, well, what does it take to move that 6 to a 7 or that 7 to an 8? And we often didn't get a lot of really good substantive responses to that. And that's why I wanted to create some tools on this. So if that 5, if you will, is that present on the far end of the disengagement, I use the term disdain. Somebody that has disdain for the organization, the place that they work. I want to burn this place down. And which is interesting because in the book, I overlay where motivation is when it comes to engagement, because somebody that has a passion of hate for the organization, that's intrinsic motivation. It doesn't need anything to prompt somebody. They feel that way, and it's visceral, it's inside them. So the next step, as you start moving from that far end of disengagement towards engagement, is apathy, which, as we know, is the opposite of love. They really just don't care. They're not even doing the minimal necessary. They just really don't care if the organization is successful, if they're successful. The next step is they're uninterested. So they care about the success of their work, maybe even the place that they work at, but they're uninterested in the efforts to want to give more of themselves and maybe even just do that minimal necessary. So then you get to that present phase, the minimal necessary, but they're going to be present in their role. Engagement begins when somebody becomes interested in doing a little bit more, or interested in a new EHS initiative, program, policy, procedure rewrite, whatever it might be. That's also where incentives can stop working. Incentives can be very helpful for a short burst, for a planned beginning and an end, to prompt mostly short-term behavior, but can also be a way to get somebody interested in what's happening, where things are going, maybe even wanting to give a little bit more of themselves. But I find, a lot of research supports this, that's when you start replacing the intrinsic motivation, the internal, I want to be a part of this, to the external. I'm doing it because of this reward, this thing that might be coming. So once you're at interest, the next step in engagement is you're moving somebody. And think about, as I'm talking through this for our listeners here, think about a few of your people. If you have the privilege to have direct reports, or if you have the privilege just to be an influencer as a leader, think of a few people and where are they in this spectrum? So the next step after interest is buy-in. Somebody buys into what we're trying to advance, what we're trying to do. But people won't buy in until they've been provided the opportunity to weigh in on this. So we don't want people to just buy in. I mean, we do, of course, but we want them to have a little bit sense of, this is the right thing to do. Because when you look at change, there are quick little digression. There are 3 things that trigger people to resist change. Number 1, they don't understand it. And sometimes we don't do a good job communicating what this new initiative is. And when we're looking to engage employees, change is the only thing that's constant. So there will always be new things that are coming, new advancements, new evolutions, new initiatives, et cetera. So if people don't understand it, they're not going to buy in. The next is they don't like it, or they don't like who's bringing it. And that has to do with trust that I touched on earlier. I would rather somebody feel, I don't like it, but I get it, then I don't like it and I don't get it. So if they're starting to get it, it makes sense. This is the right thing to do. It may be a pain in the butt, but it is the right thing to do. Yes, we need to do these audits, these observations, whatever it is. Conceptually, I agree. I may not want to, but at least there's agreement. Then that next step is willing participation. They are willing to participate because they see value in it, not because they have to meet a quota, the boss is hounding them to do something. They see value. Then the second to last step is self-ownership followed by shared ownership. That's the title of the book. So self-ownership is, it's mine. I'm going to make sure that it's successful. I have a sense of ownership. When I first met Terry Mathis, who founded our company in 1993 and retired in 2021, so I had the privilege of working with him for a very long time. But when I first met him at a safety conference, he asked the question, how often do you wash and detail your rental car? And later, afterwards, when I heard him asking this, I had just returned from working in northern Alberta up in the oil sands. And in the wintertime, it's pretty dirty and it's pretty messy. And I shared with him that one morning, it's one of those really cold places, you plug your radiator in so it doesn't freeze. But I got up that morning and I scrubbed off the headlights and I scrubbed off the windshield, the windscreen. I did the minimal necessary just to get by, kind of that present, if you will. And most people, when they get a rental car, they hopefully will put some fuel in it, they'll return it, but they're not going to wash it. They're certainly not going to detail unless they took it off road or parked under an unfortunate tree, maybe. But most people don't have a sense of ownership in something that's not theirs. And we want people to have a sense of ownership in the safety program, not something that sits on a shelf, a living, breathing thing that they're a part of. But that final step is, I'm going to step in and metaphorically carry you today because I know that you would do the same for me. In the Army, we called it battle buddy. Like, we are going to help each other get to the other side to this because we all have that sense of ownership. And that's that final hurrah, that final step in employee ownership. And I created this spectrum. And in the book, I gave it specific definitions. And if anybody wants to reach out to me at info@ProAct Safety, I'm more than happy to share some of these tools. But I provided a definition, and then I ask leaders to think about their people. So create a list of their names and who their folks are, and then where do they fit currently today based on their observations of behaviors, and where do they fit today? And then what might we need to stop doing or start doing that could help them increase that sense of empowerment, excitement, and engagement? And that's another tool that I have, that these are the things that might enable that. And then there's also some things that might demotivate, disengage, and disempower employees. And we can speak more to that. But that engagement spectrum in workshops and working directly with leaders has been a very effective tool for them to assess where their folks are at and what might be keeping them in that current state of disengagement and engagement. And most importantly, what might need to be true to move into that next step.